Welcome back to Switched to Linux. This is the brief overview of the Fedora distro. So Fedora is one of the more popular distros. I think it's kind of showing up right now, maybe around like maybe position 5, 6, 7, somewhere around there on DistroWatch. Probably because although it has this huge following, it's not one that people jump in and click through DistroWatch onto, just because a lot of people know what it is and where to get it. It is, like I said, it is one of the more popular distros. So the main system itself ships with the Genome 3 desktop right now, as the time of this video, and we are doing this on a Fedora 24 VirtualBox. The 25 alpha is out, but that's that's alpha pre-release, so we're not going to look at that. So if you do not want to have Fedora on GNOME, there are other options, and you can come down here on their main website at getfedora.org, and then you can see ARM images. So if you happen to have an ARM processor like a Raspberry Pi, you might find an ARM image, or you can look at Fedora Spins for all of the various desktop environments there. So here is the Fedora Spins project. So you can see all the different options. Yeah, it's nothing too surprising. KDE, XFCE, LXDE for more lighter weight. There's the Mate, Cinnamon Desktop, and this guy here. So you can see there's all the different desktops there. If you go to the arm.fedoraproject.org, you can see you can get a Fedora server or the Fedora Minimal, which is the ARM servers. And then here's another link for the download and the verifies for each of them. See the Fedora workstation is the GNOME 3 one, and then you can see all of the other guys here. All right. So that's the availabilities of Fedora. So why Fedora? Well, if you ask people why use Fedora, one of the first reasons they'll give you is, hey, Linus uses Fedora. So, maybe that's enough reason, is that the founder of Linux uses Fedora. So that's pretty cool. One of the reasons people actually do use Fedora more is the philosophy. The Fedora foundation behind the Fedora is it is based on the free system of software, meaning that this is by an organization of people that are really dedicated to the open source and able to see the code and able to edit the code and examine it. So a lot of it is the philosophy. Some of the things that sets Fedora apart on its own, it does have more of a rolling release model, meaning that as you update the Fedora system, it will roll into the next updates as they become available, which gives you always the latest and the greatest. If you look at Fedora, it is, now this is GNOME 3, but this is just an absolutely fabulous desktop, a really great system here to work with. It has a lot of robust features that we covered most of these in the GNOME desktop environment. But the system itself, Fedora, if you have a lot of newer and cutting-edge software, because of this rolling release, and they always include the latest kernel, you have a greater chance of supporting some of the latest and greatest software out, even with the open source drivers. The downside is, of course, with that rolling release model is A, it will require you to reconfigure some of the customizations on the settings as you're rolling around. And B, if you happen to have an older device, you might actually lose a little bit of functionality here and there if you're letting this guy go. But one of the greatest things is not only do they always include the latest kernel, but they always include the latest packages. This is a problem that you will encounter on Ubuntu and on my favorite system, Linux Mint, is that sometimes when the package comes out, meaning the software program, are called packages in Linux. When those come out, sometimes the Ubuntu does not get the system into the repositories until sometimes up to a year later. Now, my preferred distro is Linux Mint. That can take even longer than Ubuntu to get into there. So one of the downsides, if you want to always be testing out the latest software, and I looked at this right before I booted this up. If I load up Evolution here on Fedora, if I go down and look at the information here, this is the latest edition. So, you know, this VirtualBox that I just installed, I don't know, a month ago or so, is running the latest edition of Evolution. On my Linux Mint computer, I'm running an older version. I think it's 3.10 point something. So and I actually encountered the same problem on my Linux Mint computer with my web camera recorder was running on an older version. I actually had to install the PPAs because the version that was in the repositories is much older. So if I want to use the latest and the greatest of everything for my hardware, you'd want to use the Fedora type system like Fedora, because it will always have all of the latest and greatest software availabilities. Now, the other thing that really makes Fedora a pain is because it's so dedicated to the free software and free and open source community, installing codexes on this is a pain. I have not found a way to do it entirely from the user interface, so you do need to use the terminal, which I highly encourage you to use the terminal anyway. But getting the codexes to actually work, it's one of those few things that if you go in to install the codexes or you try and play something like Rhythmbox comes installed and is sitting down here, we can't play anything on it unless you have, you know, all the open source file types. But even podcasts you subscribe to or download to your computer as MP3s. And so if you try and use Rhythmbox as a podcast displayer, and then you come in here and you download the MP3, you see it's in there, you click on the file, you get a little notification at the top of the screen telling you that you need the codecs. Well, you click on the button, it goes to the Software Center to tell you you don't have the codecs. And that gives you a link to the forum to explain why you don't have the codecs. You have to go onto Google and type in Fedora codecs to get the external PPAs you need to manually install in order to put the codecs on here to listen to your MP3s. That is kind of a pain if you're doing anything with media, or if you happen to be a person that you want a good desktop operating system, you want to interact with, maybe like in my case, I have my music on a NAS server, and you know, my music is mostly in MP3 format because, well, I use Windows for a long time, and I haven't bought music for a while, and so I have a lot of MP3s laying around. Well, getting that to work, it's going to take me some extra time to get Fedora to work out of the box. Now, one workaround you could do is you can install Vlc Player, and I can't remember if I installed Vlc Player or if it came pre-installed on the system here. I can't remember, but Vlc Player comes with its own internal codecs, but it won't share them with Rhythmbox. But you can use that if you do need a simple player there. But if you do want to do the podcast with Rhythmbox, you will need to install the codecs. So that's kind of my only real gripe about it. Fedora, otherwise, it's pretty close to the industry standard because it is based on the Red Hat, and that also means that the support forums is actually excellent. So Fedora is kind of like Ubuntu. If you have a question about it, you type in Fedora, type your question into an internet search, you have the answers right in the forums. So it's not one of the releases like, you know, I'll do some other distros where if you got a problem, you kind of got to get a little bit more creative. You got to stop and think, is this based on Ubuntu? If it's based on Ubuntu, maybe the Ubuntu will work. But with Fedora, you can type in Fedora, type in your question, and there you have your solution. It is a very, very well supported. So now I set this system up out of the box. It comes with the dock is back on this screen here, and it's stuck to the left over here. I kind of wanted to get this set up. Kind of like my Mac, because I don't want to learn too many different desktop environments. I use Macs in my office. I use Windows in my office, so I set up my computers like Macs and Windows. Eventually, I'm going to get excited and work on a completely different desktop environment. But I set this up just installing some extensions. So one of the great things about the GNOME that this ships with here is you have access to the GNOME extensions. So if I load up, it's in the utilities here, if I load up the tweak tool, you'll see that there is a, let's see, where's it at? Under the extensions here, and there's this button here that says get more extensions. So this actually opens up a page on the internet. And now you do have to go through the steps to enable this extension. And I walk through exactly how to do that on the VirtualBox setup for the Fedora with GNOME. But here, anything that you're looking for, you can add the extensions just by searching for this. On this particular one, I use the extension called dash to dock. So it's right here. So the dash to dock allows you to put your dock on the bottom, and it also allows you some extra configuration options. The other things I had to do is out of the box is the GNOME on Fedora does not have your minimize and maximize buttons. That's also in this tweak tool, the GNOME tweak tool that I installed from the software manager. Over here you can toggle your buttons on and off. And then you can also set other items. So what does double clicking this do? Toggles minimize and maximize. That's kind of set up like a Windows. You can also set it up like a Mac, where if you double click it, it'll minimize the window. So you can do that. I actually really like the toggle minimize maximize. So that's kind of what my preferred happens to be for that. But you can go through the tweak tool here. You can adjust some themes, some colors, things like that. You can see that this is a very modern UI. So this is a system that if you want a system that doesn't look old, this is it. This is about as state of the art you can get. This KDE, very, very up-to-date systems. So here, the programs installed. I don't recall installing too many more programs on here. I installed the Yum extender, which allowed me to install the guest editions through the graphical user interface instead of going through the terminal. I have information about that on the videos on setting up Fedora in a VirtualBox. I think I installed VLC. I can't remember for sure. Everything else on here is comes with Fedora out of the box. So it does have the Evolution email client instead of most of them have Thunderbird. I actually prefer the Evolution over Thunderbird for most of my email applications. So I really like that this comes with Evolution. I didn't have to install it. It comes with Cheese for doing video and snapshots with your web cameras. Rhythmbox is the default player there. It comes with Firefox as your web browser. There is a map tool. I know I'm not going to click on that because that actually crashed my desktop on the first couple times I was playing with this, albeit that was on my Mac computer, which does not have nearly as many system resources to share as this computer has. And also that was before some updates came through. So they might have that map situation resolved. I'm not sure. I'm not going to click it in case they don't. But you can see there's the weather app. There is the option inside your settings to enable location, which presumably would work for your location and your maps. So you can turn on location services here if you want to. And then it will tell you that it'll either use the GPS if you happen to have one, or will use the Wi-Fi to determine the accuracy there. You can also set up your online accounts. So you can click on this button. You can add various online accounts. And so if you do want to do that for some integrated technologies, that is an option that you have. You have some other options down here as well, managing your users, just some of the basic stuff, displays, backgrounds. And just trying to see if there's anything else here that I wanted to show you in the Fedora desktop. So here you have access to your home folder. Inside your home folder, of course, it's just all your different, all of your different items. I don't have anything in here specific. So this is just a real quick walkthrough through the Fedora overview. So this has been Tom, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.